Hello, good evening, everyone. I am Shubhangi, and I'm part of the branding and communications team here at and I welcome you all to today's Kaleidoscope session. Before we dive right into the talk and the presentation for today, I would like to take a moment to talk a little bit about And Academy and what is it that we do here at And Academy is a one-of-a-kind design upskilling school, which was established by IIAD. So IIAD, or the Indian Institute of Art and Design, is a brick and mortar design school based out of New Delhi, Okhla. IIAD has been around for over a decade now, and Academy actually comes from that pedigree of IIAD. So it's not an experiment that just started like yesterday. We come from pedigree. At and we offer professional short courses in the domains of graphic design, interior design, and UI UX design. Most of these courses are part-time courses, and these are designed for people who have um, commitments during the day and are usually freer in the evening. So, working professionals or people who are enrolled in full-time courses or homemakers or people like that. Or people coming from different parts of the world who do not have access to quality design education. So, we cater to those people here at And Academy. Most of these courses, as I mentioned, are part-time courses. We offer one full-time course in graphic design. Um, all of these courses are also delivered online in a live interactive manner. So think a design school or a design college where you would go to a studio or a classroom, interact with a mentor, with your peers, get feedback, get reviews. So at And we offer that environment just online. We rely heavily on tech and human support for us to be able to do that. But you do get that simulation of a design studio from the comfort of wherever you are joining us from. So at And people join us from various parts of the world and various parts of the country, and so do our mentors. Our mentors are also design practitioners and working professionals who are work who are very much part of the industry, and these are also the people who are designing the curriculum here at And. So you get very updated industry relevant knowledge, updated trends, what is working in the industry, what are the recruiters looking for, what skills are relevant, etc., etc. So you get very much updated knowledge about the design industry. These curriculum are not only designed by people who are working in the industry, but are also delivered by the same people. Uh, so yeah, you also get one-to-one mentoring session and time with people who are very much part of the industry. As I mentioned, we come from the pedigree of IIAD, and all our classes are live and interactive in an online model. And we also focus on your design principles and fundamentals of design and design thinking, which is beyond software learning, which is usually the case with online institutes. You get to learn how to use the tools, etc. At And you do learn those also. So, for example, you learn an Adobe Photoshop or an AutoCAD or a Figma, whatever might be relevant for your domain. But you also get to learn what is it that you will do with these software, what do you design on these software, on these tools. So the thinking how to become a designer is what you learn here at And. uh, all of our curriculum is also woven with multiple projects that actually culminate into a portfolio. So you'll go through one term or one module of curriculum, and then you'll work on a project. These projects also borrow a lot from real life challenges or something that you will find when you hit the ground running or you enter the design industry. So these projects or these project brief borrow from those briefs that you will find once you face a client uh, in your career. In these projects, you work with your mentors, your peer, and they actually culminate into a portfolio whenever you graduate. We also have a lot of faith in the quality of design education that we provide, that we also offer you a job guarantee on few of our courses, given that you also meet your minimum attendance and there's some operational details to it. But yeah, we do also offer you a job guarantee or a refund if you don't get a job, we'll give you your money back. So that's about, and we've been around for over 3 years now. We have had 1,200 plus learners, 200 plus industry connects or hiring partners, and we're rated 4.6 on Google. So if you're wanting to join any of these courses, you can just check us out on Google and then connect with us over call or over email, and then we'll sort of take it from there. Today, we are talking about designing with empathy. So we have a series of masterclasses which is called Kaleidoscope. So Kaleidoscope was conceptualized as uh, a series where we invite design maestros, people who are working in the industry, to share their perspective on design. Today, we have with us Gargi Datta. Gargi is a driven professional with a bachelor's degree in hotel and hospitality administration from IHM Gwalior and a master's degree in business administration marketing from IGNU Delhi. With a diverse and extensive background spanning 12 years across customer centric industries such as hospitality, real estate, leadership coaching, digital marketing, and training, she has proven herself to be a goal oriented and results driven professional. Gargi's impressive career started as a hotel executive graduate trainee, where she was handpicked for one of the best management training schools, which is the Welcome Group Management Institute at ITC Hotels. Her expertise lies in developing and implementing business strategies that focus on driving customer satisfaction, branding, and training others in developing leadership and employment skills. Gargi's thirst for knowledge and personal growth has led her to pursue a PhD in management from Thapar University, Patiala, Punjab. With that, I will hand it over to Gargi.
Thank you so much, Shubhangi, and good evening to all of you. That was quite an introduction, and I mean, it's very rare that you get to know this that you've done come so far. And as professionals, all we do is that we are continuously engaged in terms of our workspace, and either we are creating something or we are working. So it's thank you so much. I mean, I feel very good at the beginning of the session, but as we move forward, I had also prepared a small introduction, and I just thought that, maybe I'll also quickly sieve you through about who I am. So, I welcome you all to the session today. As Shubhangi mentioned, the session is on empathy and leading with customer centricity and how design envelops these thoughts. So, I welcome you all. This is a little about myself. I have done my PhD in marketing psychology from Thapar University. I'm an MBA and I have an experience of total 15 years. You could connect me with here on LinkedIn, though that's a link with my name. But you can find me on LinkedIn by the name of D Gargi, or you could just see me on Ant's handle. I love to play golf, travel, and cook. And I'm delighted to be here in this evening with you all and probably share a few excerpts from whatever journey I've had now. And I'll be really happy if I can help any one of you with any of the dilemmas or you're at crossroads with anything in the designing journey. So when I decided that, I have this session and I have come from hospitality. I would say that I have seen the when it comes to designing, when it comes to designing spaces. I've worked in real estate. I have worked with prestigious projects like the Trump Towers and the World One in Bombay. What I find with these designers or people who design such beautiful, I would say they transform spaces, is these three things that they are very much attuned to listening to everything around them, and they're always ready to solve a problem because the lens which they wear and they look at things is only with two aspects. Either it's that they are coming up with a solution or they're turning it to an opportunity. And that's where the design transformation for them begins. And one of the, I don't know if you've heard of this name, there is a very famous interior designer. Her name is Anne Hopkins, and she is based out of New York. She had once come in for one of the projects wherein I was working in a real estate sector. And she mentioned that I wasn't trained as a designer, I was trained to solve problems. But the moment I started listening deeply to users, to their journeys, to silences, I became one. So the idea is that we all feel that, we have this knack that we can bring our vision to reality. But is that actually what you can scale up? Number one, exactly demanded by the people who are going to be using it? And most importantly, is it sustainable at the end of the day? So we live in a world, which is obsessed with data, with numbers. But there's something deep which is to do with the behavior of people, and that always doesn't match data. Empathy is one word which helps you decode what users feel, not just what they say. The question is why we are talking about empathy just now when it has always been there. Because there's a very striking tension in our current digital landscape. While we are drowning in data, we are simultaneously starving for genuine human connection and understanding. There's a huge obsession, I mean, I would say, with metrics, with number, and that has become a problem somehow, wherein we are always trying to measure everything: clicks, conversions, engagement rates, time on page, bounce rates. I mean, organizations are making $1 million decisions based on these numbers, treating them as the gospel truth. But this quantitative worship has created a very dangerous blind spot. We've become so focused on measuring what people do that we've forgotten to understand why they do it. There is a huge gap between the data and the behavior. And this is where the disconnect becomes very apparent. Survey shows that 85% of users, sometimes it shows that they are satisfied with the product. But the user behavior tells you a very different story, that they are abandoning things at an alarming rate. That's exactly what we are not checking. Analytics might reveal to you that people spend 3 minutes on a page, but does that actually tell you whether they are engaged or they are frustrated or they are trying to find what they actually need? Maybe those minutes are just spent in trying to understand what you are doing and what is it that you're selling. There is a gap that exists because traditional numbers captures the what, but they miss the why. They record actions, but they do not record motivations, behaviors, no emotions, outcomes, but not experiences. And that is where empathy, which is the center focus of our session today, comes as a decoder. It functions as a translational layer between raw data and human reality. When someone says the interface is just fine, when they look at the screen or in a survey, it shows 47 clicks trying to complete a simple task. Empathy helps you to understand the built up frustration behind their diplomatic responses. It sort of reveals you the emotional labor which users expand, the workarounds they create, and the moments where they're almost giving up. Empathy is particularly very crucial now because digital interactions have become the primary way people engage, whether it's with brands, services, or with each other. Every click now represents a human decision. Every abandonment refers to a moment of defeat. And every successful interaction refers to a small victory. And I just cannot imagine a world without empathy where we are just focused on optimizing the metrics while inadvertently creating human suffering. You know, since I come from the hospitality background, I have seen it million number of times that, we have launched these AI integrated, I would say, trackpads in the room where they, at the click of a button, they can do a lot of things. But I have, there have been times when I've received frustrated calls from, the guests in the hotels, and they've said that, I just wanted to talk to someone so that they could understand what I actually need. So that is where you need to see that are you designing beyond surface level? Because what you get from these, the numbers that are all around you are surface level insights. Because empathy actually helps you uncover the stories behind these statistics. It reveals that users might claim they want more features when they actually want existing feature to work better. It shows the user error, which is often masked behind the design failures. It exposes the emotional weight of seemingly simple tasks and the relief users feel when things finally work as expected. In a sense, empathy now serves as a bridge between our data rich but understanding poor digital world and the complex emotional reality of human experience. How many of you have seen this, what I'm coming on to? I would love to hear your views in the chat box. Anybody? You can tell me what do you think of this? What is this talking about? How many of you have seen it and now you not see it? Do you recollect the time when it was there and what was happening with you at that point in time? All right. So, this is the Instagram's following activity tab, which I just took out as a picture. It's the privacy paradox. See this, you see the following button right here, which you saw. Okay, someone did leave a text. Everyone was so annoyed when it actually disappeared. I thought it's the other way around. So it was a masterclass in engineering to begin with because it flawlessly tracked and displayed every like, every comment and follow from people in your network. The code worked perfectly. The interface was clean and the data was accurate. Yet some users recoiled from it almost immediately. But looking back, it was the best decision to remove. Why do you say that? Why do you feel that it was the best decision to remove it? It was not respecting the privacy. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I feel that way. I mean, I'm sure all of us have different opinions because the emotional reality of this was that it transformed Instagram from a space of curated self expression into a surveillance network. Users suddenly felt watched, judged, and exposed. The feature weaponized social comparison and created anxiety where there should have just been joy. People didn't just want to see what others were doing, they wanted to maintain some sense of mystery and personal boundary in their digital relationships. You do know that we all are in a digital relationship with all our social media apps. The empathy lesson here cuts to the core of the social media design that people don't just want connection, they want a connection with safety. Now, you as designers, it's prime important that when you create those websites out there, when you create that kind of app out there, what is the kind of emotional safety that you're following or you're giving up to your users? They seek, because the consumers today, they are seeking visibility on their own terms, not voluntary transparency. And Instagram eventually had to remove this feature, acknowledging the emotional comfort when it was trumping the technical capability. So it's always this case that emotional safety matters. How many of you have seen this butterfly keyboard? Anyone? Anybody ever observed this or used it? Okay. So Apple's butterfly keyboard was a revolutionary, I would say, technology that they came about because it was, I would say, their design philosophy to the extreme when it came to the most impossibly thin, mechanically innovative, and undeniably beautiful keyboard. From an engineering perspective, it was a marvel of I would say, miniaturization. Yeah. And from a user experience, it was a daily source of frustration. The emotional discord was huge because every keystroke became a moment of uncertainty. Like, would the key register, and would it stick, would it break? The keyboard turned writing, one of the most intimate human activities, into a source of stress. That's what exactly happened. Users found themselves second guessing their own typing, constantly checking their screens for missed letters or feeling anxious about written or wrong spelling, and sort of doubting the reliability of the primary output method. The empathy lesson it reveals was that the tactile experience, or tactile is between what you have projected and the reaction, carries enormous emotional weight. A keyboard is not just a tool, it's an extension of thought, a bridge between mind and machine. And when that bridge feels unstable, it disrupts not just productivity, but the fundamental relationship between users and the device that you're using. Apple had to eventually return back to their traditional style because they had to admit this, that this was bringing a sort of emotional discord for its users. I think all of you would have seen it in the recent times. Any thoughts? What am I coming on to? Anything? Anything that comes to your mind? Okay. So this Prada Kolhapuri case, Kolhapuri Chappal case, very famous, is a cultural extraction problem primarily. Per se, somebody did write something. High price of traditional chappal, yes, and beyond that, I want you to think as somebody who makes Kolhapuri Chappal in India, and then you just straight away see it at the ramp in Paris. What will happen to you at that point in time? I feel this case actually, okay, some more. No credits to the original copy straight away. Their craft is then undervalued, maybe. Absolutely. You absolutely. I mean, the case exposes perhaps the most complex of design failures which we see in terms of cultural appropriation disguised as inspiration. Prada's interpretation of traditional Kolhapuri scandal, or that's how you call it, traditional Kolhapuri scandal, but it's sandal, was visually stunning, crafted with premium materials, and marketed with sophisticated storytelling. From a pure design perspective, if you ask me, it was really successful. But the emotional and cultural reality was entirely different. The Kolhapuri Chappal carries centuries of cultural meaning, craft, tradition, and community identity, most important. By taking the design without acknowledgement, context, or collaboration, Prada transformed a symbol of cultural heritage into a luxury commodity. This felt very extractive and disrespectful, to be honest, to the communities that have spent years and years to this art. They've given their life to it and preserved this design tradition. Now, this empathy lesson extends beyond individual user experience to collective cultural respect. True empathy in design actually means recognizing that the aesthetics are never neutral. They carry history, meaning, and ownership. Beautiful designs that ignore these deeper layers don't just fail emotionally, it can actively harm communities and perpetuate systems of cultural exploitation. Now, you saw three examples. Each of these failures share a common thread. Designer optimized for one dimensional, whether it is technical functionality, aesthetic appeal, market success, while ignoring the emotional and the cultural dimension that ultimately determine the user acceptance. These examples actually remind us that successful design just not require technical skill and aesthetic judgment, but deep empathy for the full spectrum of human experience, whether it's individual, social, or cultural. The most revealing aspect of these failures, which I feel was that they were all preventable through empathetic design thinking. User research, cultural consultation, and emotional consideration could have, been used to identify these issues before they became expensive public failures. So that's where you as designer have to, think of certain concrete steps wherein you start designing with empathy. Now you have a code on your screen and there is a link also. I'm gonna share this link in the chat box as well. And I would want you to just help me check this out. You could scan it and you could check it and start participating in the quiz. Yeah. There are multiple choice, some are word clouds. They're just a set of 5 questions. I just want to know your views.
Is there a way that we can also see that people are doing this or no?
You want me to share that screen? Let me do
No, no,
that.
that's fine. I mean, if you can.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I saw one Q&A here. Can empathy be taught or it's something you either have or you don't?
We can take the questions systematically at the end of the session also, Gargi, if that's okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for participants to start in.
Yeah.
Please let me know in case if you guys are facing any challenge.
I hope everyone is able to access the link. I shared it. In
Join
the
code. You need a code for this? Okay, wait 1 second. I'm just going to put that in the chat box. Here you go. The code is also displayed on the screen here. You have exactly 4 more minutes to do this. Someone said all of the above. Listening to customer feedback. Okay. We have two people who said all of the above. What does empathy in design mean to you? Let me see the next slide. Now you have to rank these. What challenges do you face in understanding customer needs? You guys are designers, I'm sure, or you're looking to work in this field. So, what do you think would be one of the biggest challenge? And then you could rank these basis on your understanding. Anybody else here? Okay, 3 people said all of the above. Again, it's a ranking question. Rank the following aspects of customer experience in order of importance. Like, basically, these are what are the most important aspects that a customer looks when they are, looking for a product or something. Yes, you're supposed to rank them. Need is coming first. Yep, very important. Ease of use. One word that describes your approach to customer centricity. I'm looking for your answers here. Just 1 more minute to go. What innovative approaches can you think of putting empathy and design together? Okay, I see some word emotions, personal connect. All right. How would you put innovative approach? How would you think of putting empathy and design together? Come on, guys, think. The time is almost up. Mind mapping, feedback, familiarity, probability by taking survey. Yes. Customer representation. Yep. Ease. I like that word. Familiarity just got added. Great. Great. Thank you so much for participating in this quiz. Now let's move ahead in our presentation for today. I mean, the idea was just to, sort of help you think, and you guys came up with two very important aspects. One was need, one was ease. You spoke about personal connections, you spoke about familiarity. So, all these things are very close to empathy when you try and start knowing the people around you. Moving ahead, now what is empathy in design? Since you all gave fantastic views about it, empathy in design is basically it's a loop, okay, wherein it's beyond walking in the user's shoes. It's all about listening with curiosity, designing with care. So, in my opinion, it's just not a process. It's a loop wherein empathy leads to insight, leads to iteration, and leads to impact. And at the heart of it is your innovation. It's just not a process, it's a fundamental shift in how we approach design and development. Each stage builds on the previous one. Now, whether it's gaining insight or whether it is talking about achieving impact, creating a continuous cycle that transform how we understand and serve users. Now, empathy for me is the entry point, but it's not a passive observation. It's active emotional engagement with users' experience. Real empathy, it requires designers to sit with discomfort. When a user struggles with your interface for 10 minutes to complete a 50-second task, you need to feel that frustration, in every possible way. When someone abandons your product, not because it's broken, but because it makes them feel stupid, you need to experience that emotional weight. Now, the first stage, which is empathy, fostering empathy, it is about building emotional literacy, developing the ability to recognize and understand the feelings that drive user behavior. It is the difference between knowing that users drop off at the stage 3 and understanding why that moment, feels impossible to them. And someone asked me that, can you teach empathy? In my opinion, yes, you can. You definitely can. We all are born with different mindsets, with different personalities, but you definitely can learn empathy. And that happens with a true servant leadership mindset. The second stage is to gain insight. Insight is where the empathy transforms into actionable understanding. It's the moment when scattered emotional observations crystallize into clear patterns and principles. This isn't just about identifying problems, it's about understanding the underlying human needs that aren't being met. Insights help you bridge the gap between what users do and why they do it. They reveal the emotional logic behind seemingly irrational behavior. They help teams understand that when users say they want something faster, they might actually want something that feels less overwhelming. Third step is the iteration, which is the experimentation step. Now, iteration is where your ideas or where your insights they become a reality. But it's just not about building and testing. It's about continuous emotional collaboration. Each iteration should be an experiment in human feeling, not just functionality. Iteration, the stage also requires designers to become emotional scientists. They are not just asking, does this work? But how does this make people feel? They're testing not just usability, but emotional usability or viability. Whether these kind of interactions feel natural, whether interfaces inspire confidence, whether the overall experience align with the emotional needs of the consumer. The last stage is impact. That's where the real transformation happened. Impact is the ultimate measure, but it's measured in human terms, not just business, not just data, not just numbers. Real impact means where users feel more capable, more empowered, more understood. It means the product becomes a positive force in people's lives rather than just a tool they tolerate. Impact also creates momentum for the next cycle when users feel genuinely understood and served. They become more willing to share their experiences, creating richer empathy for the next iteration of the loop. Any questions so far? Okay. Now, I did us. I mean, as you know, that I am a researcher as well. So I wrote a very interesting paper recently for Cumulus, which is one of the world's most renowned designed organization, wherein I was basically trying to combine design transparency, dining preferences, and I thought that let me use this, thing that I wrote and give you an understanding as to how the lines between an offline consumer experience is blurring with the digital consumer experience because the expectation levels are just the same. All right. So, um, in this research, I investigated how transparency in physical spaces, specifically the open kitchen designs, fundamentally changes users' behavior and trust. And what we discovered was that visibility is just not about the aesthetics or functionality. It's about creating an ethical relationship between the user and the space. The key insight was about the psychology of visibility. When people, where people can see what's happening around them, when you're being totally transparent, whether it's the food preparation or the food kitchen or the food processing, and similarly, you apply this understanding into a digital interface, they develop a sense of trust. This visibility creates what we call ethical alignment, where users feel respected and informed. Like, how these days you can track your orders, you can actually see that, on these apps where Swiggy and, all of that, that where your rider has reached and what is happening. Now, when you look at as a bridge to digital applications, these principles directly reply, or I would say apply to digital landscape or design. Just as the open kitchen made the diners feel more comfortable and trusting of the food that they are eating, transparent digital interfaces make users feel more in control of their data and interactions. In both physical and digital spaces, what we choose to reveal or hide profoundly affects users' emotion and trust. A hidden process, as simple as a food preparation or data processing, creates anxiety and suspicion. Visible processes, on the other hand, create confidence and engagement. Now, this particular research of mine reinforced that ethical design isn't just about following rules. It's about creating environments, whether physical or digital, where users feel psychologically safe and empowered through transparency. So this is again, a small diagram wherein I just sort of tried to explore how we apply these transparency principles specifically to digital design challenges. And, when you look at defining them with in terms of balancing with the financial matrix and user experience, when you're just too focused on gaining more followers or more engagement or more clicks, you can achieve your short-term goals. But when it comes to from a management perspective, but as a designer's lens, you need to be more user experienced focused, because that's how you make long-term relationships, and ultimately that is going to lead to better financial performances. Now, I sort of tried to create a certain, I would say, frameworks for empathetic UX design. When I was just thinking about it, that what is the main takeaway that I can offer you guys? So something that I really resonate is that empathy without structure is just good intentions. To make empathy actionable in design, we need actual frameworks that can be measured, repeated, and scaled across teams. The first framework is the key ethical performance indicator, or I call it as the key KEPI, that measures the ethical impact of our design decisions. Unlike traditional KPI, which is key performance indicator, KEPI focus on user empowerment and well-being. The core question that you must ask yourself, are we empowering or manipulating? This is a fundamental question that every design decision maker should answer. Are we helping users make informed choices, or are we nudging them toward choices that benefit us? Now, you know these unified payment interfaces. When you are designing such interfaces, you need to implement KEPI around transaction clarity instead of just measuring the conversion rates. You need to measure the informed consent rates and how many users could correctly explain the transaction before confirming it. Third is empathy map plus UX journey maps. Now, this is beyond traditional journey mapping. Now, traditional journey mapping usually focus more on actions and touch points. The empathy enhanced, I would say, journey mapping focus on emotional states, the underlying needs, and moments of vulnerability. The question that you should be asking is, what are the emotional low points? Every user journey has emotional peaks and valleys. The valleys are where trust is built or broken, where users feel empowered or manipulated. For each step of the user journey, there are key dimensions that you must measure and keep them in mind throughout. These key dimensions, very briefly, are what are they feeling, at this moment? Frustrated, excited, confused, happy. What are they thinking? The internal dialogue. What are they doing? The observable actions. And what are they experiencing? The pain points or the delighters. I mean, you live in the world where you're surrounded by data. Everything is a touch point. So use that data to make informed decisions, keeping in mind the emotional know how of your buyer. Third is shadowing and storyboarding, the power of unobserved behavior. Users behave differently when they think they're being watched. All of us do that. Shadowing reveals authentic behavior patterns that surveys and interview matters. The core question that you should be asking here is, what do users do when no one is looking? That is where you figure out the workarounds, the frustrations, the moments of genuine delight or confusion that users might not articulate in any research or survey session. The shadowing methodology says that we observe users in their natural environment, their home, their office, or wherever they naturally use the product, not in a lab, not in a formal setting. We look for repeated behaviors or patterns, especially the ones that seem illogical. These often reveal unmet needs or design failures. Another thing that, interestingly, since I come from the hospitality side, we always used to do that we used to observe the body language a lot. Because sometimes your words do not do justice to what your signs are telling us otherwise. Because there are expressions, these are interaction patterns that indicate emotional shifts. Now, when you look at storyboarding from this reality, you create authentic narratives. Because you've shadowed their observations, you can actually now create storyboards or mood boards to show real user behavior, not idolize using the data points. Um, Another example that we used to extensively use, and I've seen that happening off late as well, is that you do a day in life of your customer. Like you not just ask them to fill surveys, you reach out at locations where you feel that people are interacting maximum with the kind of product that you're selling. Now, in your digital space, it's to do with the kind of other websites probably that they're surfing, right? Because that tells them that what is that intervention point or what is that peak point where you need to reach. Now let's look at some live examples. Paytm is one story which, every one of us knows, right? Right from the implementation to the impact to the result. They introduced a multi-stage progress indicator showing processing payment, contacting bank, and verifying account. All of us have seen it, we just cannot recollect it at times. And then that stage comes when they say transaction complete. Each stage has a visual loading animation and estimated time remaining. When sometimes the transaction doesn't go, it shows 45 seconds, 30 seconds, and either it fails or it goes through. So this particular thing basically sort of helped people to reduce the fear. It addressed that fear that they were facing, that money has now disappeared into a digital black hole. And besides, or I would say before even using transparent digital interfaces, users had no idea if payment was stuck, failed, or successful. So when they started using these digitized or these animated interfaces, it gave us a sense of, I would say, comfort and reduced our anxiety. And this kind of impact was very crucial for India's cash-heavy economy. When a street vendor can see their 500 rupee being processed step by step, they gain confidence, they gain trust to sort of accept digital payments. Gave us visual cues by also widely using colors. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what is the measurable result here? I mean, the data says that the Paytm company, it reported 40% reduction in their customer support calls about payment statuses, 60% increase in repeat transactions after implementing these kind of transparency. And what they did, the process was happening in the background. They just brought it to the forefront. And the kind of emotional connect they developed with their users. I mean, all of us are Paytm users of late. So that's the power of design, transparency, bringing empathy into the picture. Next example is of Swiggy's delivery tracking process. I mean, I don't need to, I think, explain this. We all are sort of users of Swiggy, whether it's Instamart or their food option. Food delivery in India, it's huge. And it sort of faced a lot of challenges in terms of unpredictability, timing, and lack of accountability. Initially, before Swiggy delivery, I think it would be probably even before COVID, way before COVID, customers never knew that their order could be forgotten or delayed. Now, Swiggy, with the help of its digital interface, it not only confirms your food, it tells you the preparation time, it gives you pickup notification, it gives you live GPS tracking, it gives you the delivery partner's movement, estimated arrival countdown, all that jazz it throws your way. They integrated the payment operating systems to show actual cooking process, not just estimated times. GPS tracking update every 30 seconds with route optimization. This transparency changed Indian food culture. Families could plan dinners together precisely, and office workers could take their lunch breaks effectively. Like how I see this, that, I have this option on my Swiggy app that, okay, I have something called as Bolt or something else, and I can filter it out with delivery timings and everything. And then that shows me that small little guy who's moving with my food, or the restaurants that's preparing food, and then they show that vessel on the stove where food is being cooked. So it's all really I would say so transparent, and it gives me a sense of confidence and trust while ordering food from them. IRCTC booking app goes without saying that initially, it used to be a troublesome experience when we used to look at booking our own tickets. With the IRCTC booking app, you have transparency in terms of your seat availability. It shows real-time availability. It shows quota-wise breakdown. It shows you dynamic pricing. It shows you what could be the waitlist probability and clear refund policies. Booking completion rates have gone up. Customers' complaints about unfair pricing has decreased. And most importantly, it has, I would say, reduced the bureaucracy in railway booking. Previously, only experienced users could do it, but now anybody can do it. And it has a huge impact, and people are more aware as to why prices are a certain way and what are the chances of their bookings getting confirmed. Another example is the Flipkart's return process. I mean, it goes the same for all your e-commerce websites. What they created was a visual timeline with photo evidence at each step. Users receive images of their return product delivery during quality checks, and they also give you confirmations at each stage. Now, this kind of transparency helped overcome the traditional Indian mindset reluctance to buy without physically examining products. Like how our parents tradition in a traditional Indian household would be like that, wear it and then buy it. But now everything has changed. Trust in online shopping has increased because your returns and your customer handling policies are so transparent. And in term that's the biggest kind of fear, no, that who I'm going to return to, there's no physical store, there's no person who's in touch with me, because they worked on these return processes and they seamlessly integrated digital interfaces which were user friendly, that it helped to build trust in its people. Now, this brings me to the end of the session, and I would just leave you with this thought that what is the smallest element in your last project that you can think makes someone feel excluded or anxious? You could revisit a screen, as in a visible screen, a brand asset, or identify where discomfort may silently live and use that as your starting point when you are creating something again. And this is the end of the session quiz. Um, I always say design is just not about solutions, it's always about care. And like last time, I am going to quickly share this code. Rather, I'm going to share the Mentimeter website. Just give me a second. In the meanwhile, we are now open to any question and answer that you have while I set this up for you.
Thank you so much for taking out the time to do this wonderful session, Gargi. I really feel so much more informed. I look at the and curriculum day in and day out, and they've been talking about user empathy and all of this, but it feels so great to have such good insight into designing for the users. I really feel glad to be part of this session. I think we already have some questions, but I'll just wait for you to put the
Yeah.
Mentimeter link in the chat.
Yes, few last thoughts. Become an empathy investigator. Always audit emotions, not just flows. And I just hope and pray that you design with clarity and lead with compassion. So I'm just going to now thank you so much, Shubhangi. It has been an absolute delight to be here for me as well. I'm just now going to share my Mentimeter screen, and this is, you could, yeah,
Do you also want to put the Mentimeter link in the chat?
I'm
How?
going to do that. I'm going to do that.
We already have so many questions coming in. Oh my God, that's great.
Yes, here's the link. And I am now flipping back to my screen. And for people who were looking for code, the code is right on your screen. We're going to take 2 minutes while I read your chat.
Right. So let me just start by taking the questions. I think you've already addressed, can empathy be taught, or is it something you either have or you don't? Do you have any other um, thoughts on this? Do you want to add something to this?
I said that, empathy can be taught,
Yeah.
and why I say that is because there is something called as it's a new age term given by Simon Sinek. I don't know how many of you follow him. He spoke about servant leadership mindset. I mean, a lot of thought leaders talk about it, but I like his analogy the best because he says that uh, every one of us is a leader in our own stride, whatever job or function that we are at. But when you take that responsibility wherein you are, in charge of a particular domain, like in your case, designing something, then you are just not the in charge of producing a great output or a great website or an app, but you're also responsible for the people who are now in your charge, which means your users. So when you think of this repeatedly in your mind, and which also brings me to another example. I don't know how many of you've seen this beautiful um, story on YouTube. There's a great video on Amazon. So, Amazon is considered to be one of the best in terms of their CRM application. A lot of people find it cumbersome on going on their app and finding the customer button or anything, because they believe that the kind of interfaces they've created, they're 100% transparent. And why they say that? Because at every level of Amazon, at every office, they have this invisible chair in every discussion. Why do you think that chair is there? Shubhangi, any idea?
For the user.
Absolutely.
Represent the user.
Absolutely. So, my 2 cents to all of you, I mean, I think you guys must be doing, is to always pilot test your product to a handful of people. And that will give you a very real time picture about what people are feeling. And don't just go on the fact that, oh, I got these many clicks, I got these many downloads. You have to talk to people. What was their pain point? Where did they get where did they feel that they have lost it completely? And they were actually clicking to move past that step. So, just to answer the question, yes, absolutely. Empathy can be taught. It's a skill, I would say, and it's a very important new age skill, especially in this AI world that we live in.
Moving on to another question. Himshika is asking, if I haven't worked with anyone or any client before, how do I build empathy?
If you've not worked with any client, or you have not, uh, sorry, what was the second part of the question?
How do I build empathy?
Very good question, actually. I would say that join some social service. Because you look around yourself, around you, I mean, anywhere you are dealing with people day in day out. So whether it is your house help, or whether it is your the person who cleans your car or anything, be kind, and I that does not mean that you ignore all the noise that is around you, but I would say that as somebody who's aspiring to be into the in the design profession, kindness goes a long way, because it reflects in the kind of things that probably you have not even thought of. And yes, there are books, there are very nice YouTube channels that you can refer to. To begin with, you could start reading about the quotes from these thought leaders, and inspiring journeys. And yeah, I would say that be kind. That's one of the most important skills.
Right. Somebody is asking, how do we keep empathy alive with such fast-paced projects and deadlines? I think the Amazon example really fits here.
Yeah. Just keep the chair in the room. You don't need to, have an alarm on your phone. When you see that empty chair, it will remind you, why are you there in the first place? So, whatever decision you take, always reflect that one side is your profits, one side is your customer. If there is a huge gap and you're only creating because of this will go away. And mind you, the cost of retaining an old hand or an old customer is much lesser than going for a new one.
Right. Somebody is asking, is empathy something recruiters look for while hiring beginner level designers?
Absolutely. Hands down. I have always felt this, that especially in the houses, because I was in the housing sector for a long haul, and I felt that it is one of the most toughest commodity to sell, because and I till date I see this, that I am helping make someone the most important decision of their life, their dreams. It's their house where they're going to live. If you are not going from a perspective where you cannot feel the pulse of your buyer, your designs will not speak for themselves. And that's one of the most important skill that people look at, because empathy ultimately relates to change. So in order to be a change maker, you have to be an empathetic professional.
Right. We have another question. How does empathy thinking help in group projects? Because in team, everyone has different ideas. So how do we include empathy while designing in a group or a team?
Keeping your customer in mind, you all work towards a common goal. You may come with 20 ideas, but that chair in the room will tell you what is going to work. I mean, look at the Apple example. It was a revolutionary keypad, but it didn't work. People were not finding it. It could be a technological marvel tomorrow. But at the end of the day, what is the usability? As simple as this, people as architects, they create these beautiful bridges, these beautiful footwalks or whatever. But simple fact, they may not have installed cameras on top. Females may fear walking on that. The subways. I don't know, I think we've stopped using subways. We don't use them anymore. Designed beautifully. But these are the real world challenges. That's why people don't use it.
Right. And how do you deal with feedback that goes against what you thought users wanted?
Take it with a pinch of salt and continue to improvise your product. Because at the end of the day, if you don't take care of your customers, somebody else will. It's as simple as that.
Hmm. And how can I showcase empathy in my portfolio?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I am not from a hardcore design background, but maybe through your color schemes or maybe through the simplicity of the process and the transparency that you are focusing on in terms of I'm always somebody who is really crazy about being absolutely aware as to where my money is going or what is this website doing to my data, processing it. So I think in your portfolio, you could create some things or you could put in some projects where you have actually collected real-time customer data and you have showcased how you have changed the whole landscape for it and what is the long-term goal that you've achieved. So that can help you. Of course, numbers play a very big role, but when you are able to, I'll tell you a real story. So one of our students, okay, she recently gave a project. In fact, that paper has also been published. So she's from Northeast. So she said that there are a lot of platforms which are selling Northeast jewelry, which are making it, but the people who are actually sitting in these villages, they are not aware and they are not able to showcase their product well to the international market. So she made an e-commerce platform specially focusing on the Northeast culture and heritage. And I was amazed that there are 250 plus products that she was listing on that. So having such products, wherein you are focusing on sustainable livelihood for people, helping uplift the society in some way, will showcase, empathy in your portfolio.
Right. And I think being transparent with your research would
Yeah.
also go a long way.
Yes.
If you've collected on-ground data, if you've collected primary research, don't sort of shy away from showing it. As Gargi's also mentioned, there is KPI. You also want to, there's always this um, urge to sort of show processed data. But if you're very transparent about your user, I think that would also go a long way in showcasing empathy in your portfolio.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Somebody is asking, I'm still learning how to talk to or deal with users. So what's the best way to ask the right questions?
That is the point. Ask the relevant questions. Ask the toughest question. You know, um, like as simple as that ad, it's so silly to our ears, but it sells like a hotcake. क्या आपके toothpaste में नमक है? I mean, I didn't even know that why it is important to have salt in my toothpaste. But it said that, it helps my teeth in terms of non-scaling, blah, 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 the kind of paraphernalia that they sell it with. But people shy away from asking questions. They shy away from, having relevant questions. And, I'll be honest with this AI coming into picture, we have let it capture our whole thought in a sense. You should use it as your intelligent assistant and not as your replacement. Because when you ask questions from your heart and combined with the logic of your mind, the customers are bound to answers. But sometimes, yes, you may come across a scenario where they may get offended. I'm not denying that. But that's a chance probably that I'm willing to take. I'll probably run it through my peers, I'll run it through my organization and then share it. But yes, somebody who's still not able comfortable to talk to uh, customers as such, I think you can start by sending them direct emails or giving sending feelers about what is going to come next. So you can do that.
Uh, I think we've come to the last two questions of the evening. Somebody is asking, is there a way or a place where I can learn empathy, or like how do I think as a designer, but also learn to design from scratch? I think this is a loaded question.
We'll break it.
Yeah, we'll break it. So the first part of the question is, where can I learn empathy?
Everywhere. Start connecting with your creations more and start taking more feedback is, I would say, the first thing. A lot of us, we make a project and we feel we've done the best. Yes, you've done the best, but how do you know it is the best? I'm not talking about the grades that you will get. I'm talking about the qualitative feedback that you will get. Focus on that first. That's very important. Believe in the power of feedback, and I have always said this during my entire PhD journey. I used to feel nobody understands my topic. मेरी तो बात ही नहीं समझ आ रही किसी को. और that used to happen at times, most of the times. And it took me a long while to realize that a good research, in your case, a good design or a good blueprint, is something which is understandable by all. A person does not have to be an artist to understand what your strokes are. I mean, of course, the depth and intensity that varies, but they should be able to appreciate what you've created. They should be able to make sense of it. So, any design which is understandable by all is good.
Great. And this is the last question that our attendees have. What is your take on dark UX patterns? It might be a part of getting more customers or even keeping them attached to the platform, but then it also uses empathy in a way which seems unethical sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no denial to that. And I think uh, I would say AI is doing that, and I wouldn't say it's a point of worry, but it's definitely a point of conjecture wherein it's a debatable situation. And yes, when you are supposed to deliver, when you're supposed to meet your numbers, sometimes you lose track of what is right and wrong. But in the long haul, that will always bite you back. So, yes, it's a challenging situation. I would agree to that.
And the ethical conundrum, you're often met with an ethical conundrum when you are, say, doing work or in a field which is for many people who are out there, and not for your own self. So whenever I personally feel that there is a challenge with ethics, I would always check my intentions. That's a good sort of check. If your intentions are correct, then your ethical conundrum might not arise.
Yes, I agree to that, And but Shubhangi, I would say it's a blind spot.
It is.
When we have stomachs to fill and bread to make, the lines do get blurred, and I understand this dilemma. And most of us have had it the hard way, but I've always, I always feel that don't lose sight of who you are, because at the end of the day, you should be able to have a peaceful, restful sleep. That's what matters the most. Maybe even if you're sleeping on empty stomach, for me, if I feel that I have done my bit today and I've not hurt anyone intentionally or unintentionally, might be, it at the end of the day, it just comes back to that. I may sound a little philosophical when I say this, but it's the hard reality. It'll come bite you. So, yeah.
Meanwhile, we were discussing this, there is another question. Somebody saying, I sometimes struggle to put myself in someone else's shoes, but can we just not say that AI is there to do that?
AI is taking inputs from people around like us only. That's how it's a machine. It's learning from people like us. But yes, when you ask me taking AI for simulation purpose, I would deny against it because still it has not been able to do understand the complexity of my mind. So I would still go against completely. Yes, you can, use it as an intelligent assistant, but it cannot replace the human connect.
Correct. And okay, I would like to end this session with a
There were
question.
two questions in the chat from Himshika and Suhani.
Okay,
So
wait, let me. So I think
sometimes
Suhani's we've already addressed.
okay.
Mm,
Himshika said, sometimes I get stuck thinking about what I would want as a user. How do I move past that? Yes, we are spoiled for choices. I always keep it simple. Have a detox day in your life, maybe on a Sunday, and wherein you're not using, but it's next to impossible, but try and go on locations or probably a detox vacation when you're not using it. And that's where clarity comes into picture because clarity is deep rooted in your conscious. So to get back to your conscious, you really have to give it rest. So that's what I would say.
And I would like to close this session with my question, which is, and I love asking this, which is, if you were to redesign something as small as a safety pin and as big as the Delhi Metro railway system, what would you redesign?
Hmm. Well, that's something that I've never thought of because, we as users, we have always accepted things thrown our way. But yes, if I was to redesign something, probably the human body, I would say, you know, I would want it to be a little more functional. Yeah, so I think if that counts. But yes, if I am to look around me, I would say air conditioners, maybe. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much for doing this with us, Gargi. Thank you for taking out the time. Thank you for everyone who stuck around till the end of the session. Suhani is saying that it was wonderful and informational session. Would love to connect.
Pleasure, Suhani.
Suhani, you can connect with Gargi on LinkedIn. Um, yeah, with
And
that, I say thank you and bye bye and good night.
thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here. It was wonderful. I mean, to chat with you all, to say and Shubhangi for being such a great host. Thank you. I wish And Academy and all of you learners all the very best for your future and just be good designers. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night.